Yo, what's going on, you bad mofos? Thanks for joining me on One Bad Podcast here at One Bad Studios with your host, One Bad Comic. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing good. Big announcement. I have reached 50 subscribers, guys. 50 subscribers. Ooh, ooh. That's my 50 subscriber dance. That's the way we do it. 50 motherfucking subscribers on my YouTube channel. What? So thank you very much, all 50 of you, for subscribing. At least subscribing, thank you. Thank you very much, I appreciate that. So today, on today's episode, I'm going to do a little bit different as opposed to just talking about current events. I want to start changing it up and start maybe pretty much every episode talking about a certain theme. So that would be the whole topic of the podcast for that day or that episode. And I think that'd be interesting. And I feel that it would be appropriate to start off with the word beginning. Beginning is an interesting word, right? We've all experienced a beginning of some kind, whether it be at your new work, you're starting a new job, or you're starting a new class somewhere at a school, or you just, you're moving to a new city, or your new relationship that you just started. A beginning can be very interesting because it could be very exciting, it could be nerve-wracking. It could be scary, and that's the thing that I think it's unknown. That's the part that we get weirded out by, I guess, is that we don't know what is to come, But it's very important that we always have a beginning, that we experience it and not be afraid to experience it. So I'm gonna go ahead and read some quotes about the theme beginning from a lot of philosophers and professors and stuff like that that'll actually tell us a few things about experiencing beginnings. So let's read a couple of here. Here's one from Buddha. There are two mistakes one can make along the road to truth: not going all the way and not starting. That's a good one, right? Shit. All right. All great ideas and all great thoughts have a ridiculous beginning. That's a good one, because a lot of times, you ever have an idea and you're like, hey, that's a pretty good idea, but you never fucking tell anybody because you feel like you're gonna fucking look stupid and shit, which, you might, but because it's not real, it's in your head, it's your vision. So sometimes people look at what you're saying and they don't get it, so they don't understand what you're saying. But once your vision starts to come to life, then they start to be like, oh, wow, I understand, So these are just a bunch of good quotes that I thought, beginnings are always messy, John Galsworthy. That's very, very true. A lot of the times, we start try something new and we suck at it, and we, it's messy. Like he says, it's very hard and difficult, and we fail a lot in the beginning. But, it's through that, if you're able to surpass that, then eventually you're able to overcome it and become a master at it, at whatever it is that you're doing. So these are all just really good quotes. The beginnings of all things are small. Again, we expect this huge thing, and it doesn't work that way. Beginnings always start at the very bottom, at the very bottom of it all. So it's kind of like a seed, like those, I don't know what those things are called, though. Those little roots that grow around trees and stuff like that, and they wrap around fences and stuff like that. If you really start chasing those lines that go all the way around the fence or the tree or whatever, if you start chasing it all the way down, you get to the one part where it's just where, it gets to the ground. It's just this one little line that caused all this massive, entanglement, and it wraps around, the fence all beautifully and stuff like that. So that just goes to show you, man, it is. So I figured, in the heart of beginnings, I figured it would be a good idea to talk about maybe like the first time I ever did stand up at the comic strip, which my first professional, at a comedy club show that I ever did. which to me was the beginning of my career, sort of. It was the beginning of it, but it was horrible because it was. I remember I was working at Sprint at that time, and it was, I believe it was around December actually, and I was working. I was a rep, and I was out there doing my shit, and on the side when I would get a chance, I'd go out and I'd do stand up. I had been doing stand up a couple of months, but not on a professional caliber type of shit like that. I was doing stuff on the side, but I had never performed at my home club. And one of the days I was working, all of a sudden I get this fucking call, from this guy named George Jimenez, who's a very, very funny comedian, guys. If you guys ever check him out, if he's ever in your area, make sure you guys check him out. But very, very funny comedian out in El Paso named George Jimenez calls me up while I'm working, and he's like, "Hey, man, do you want to come host at the comedy club today?" And I freaked out, because I was like, holy shit, like this is this was my first big call or my first big gig that I felt like, holy shit, this is for real. Like, this is my moment or whatever the fuck. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. He's like, are you busy? I'm like, no, I'm good. He's like, all right, well, can you come down today right now? I was like, oh, fuck. And I was like, yeah, I can go, fuck it, whatever. So I fucking hung up. I made the compromise to be hosting at the comic strip in El Paso that night. And I had like maybe a couple of hours. And I was at work, so I hung up, and then at that point I was like, holy shit, like what am I gonna do? Like how am I gonna get out of this, So I end up going to my manager, and I explained to him, like, hey man, I have a fucking emergency. I have to go like right now. Like I have an emergency, fucking. I don't even remember what I said, but I threw some bullshit at him. And he let me go, I took off, and I just fucking took off directly to the comic strip. Just like that, I was still dressed in my little white shirt with the brown slacks, the Sprint colors and shit. So I made it to the comic strip, and it was on a Sunday. So I get to the comedy club, right, and there's all these fucking pictures of all these badass comedians signed and all this shit, and I was so new to the game. Like I didn't know shit, I was just trying to do stand up, and I was barely learning to write a joke, so this was so new to me. And I walk in, and they send me over to Bart, and I go over to Bart, and Bart is a very intimidating guy. Like he's very, very intimidating. He's a very, big dude, very, looks down with his glasses, has his little silk shirt kind of a thing, it's always just kind of. So when I met him, I was instantly shitting my pants because I didn't know what the fuck to tell him, or anything. I was just scared, man. I was so new, I was scared. And, we shake hands, and he tells me, he's like, hey, what's up? I'm like, yeah, I know what's up. I got this, yeah. Even though I didn't know what the fuck was going on. He hands me this paper, right? And he in this paper is all the announcements that I had to say. He had the comedians that I was going to work with. And he's like, all right, well, just go ahead and hold on to this. When you go up, this is what I want you to say. So I said, okay, cool, I got it, all right. I saw George there, I said hi, and I waited by the side. I got a beer, and I was drinking it just to calm my nerves, And finally the show starts, right? And the music starts to come on. Whenever you're at the comic strip, if you ever gone, I know a lot of people have gone, but every time you go in there, he starts it off with like this little light show, and like, starts music going, you know what I mean? Like starts this little cool little light show before the show, and starts getting everybody prepared for the show. I didn't know that shit. I didn't know that shit at the time. I didn't know. I had never been there, and seen how it goes down. So I was not aware that that's what happens. I was used to doing shitty shows, at bars, and hey, here's a mic, go up, and then you just go up and start the fucking show. I didn't know that I had to wait for Bart to introduce me. I thought that I was just gonna go up and just cold start it. Like, fuck it, like, what's up, guys? And I didn't know that. So I'm standing by the side of the stage right before I go up, and Bart starts to cue the music and starts with the light shows. And I'm waiting there like, well, where am I? Like, how? I start panicking because I don't know if I should already be going up or should I just be staying down here. Like, I don't know what's going on. I freak out and I decide to go up to the fucking stage. And I go up to the stage while the music is still going on and Bart's barely getting ready to introduce everybody to the show and to the night. And I go up there and I grab the mic, and before he starts the show, he turns off. The mics aren't even on. So I go up and people are looking at me with all these lights just moving around, and I just start the show like, "Hey guys, what's going on? How you guys doing today?" Hey, just looking like a total fucking moron. And people are just sitting there looking at me like, "What's going on?" And the lights are moving, the mic's not on, and I'm just standing there sweating like a fucking, like if I'm in the middle of a desert, just drenched in sweat because I don't know what is going on. And all of a sudden, it like the voice of God. I hear Bart from the intercom say, "Israel, it's not time yet. The show's, let me go ahead and introduce you." And I just stood there like a total jackass. And I just froze and I was like, oh my God. And the people were just kind of, I could see people giggling already, like, oh, this fucking idiot. And I just turned around and I walked back down to the stage and I just stood there. And then Bart started to, the announcements and all the things that he wanted to say. And as while he's saying it, I'm standing on the side just, I felt like I got kicked in the fucking gut, dude. Just boom! I was like, I didn't want to go up anymore. I felt so fucking embarrassed. And the shitty part is that I hadn't even started my fucking set. I hadn't even started this shit. I still had to go back up. And I was just so scared, like I didn't want to go back. I made a total ass out of myself in the first fucking 10 seconds of this shit. And I hadn't even started my fucking set. So finally, I wait, and Bart finally introduces me. Let's give it up for your host, Israel Garcia. I fucking make my way up, and as I'm getting the mic, I could hear people already laughing at me, like, oh, this idiot fucking went up before he was supposed to. So I just go up and I start doing my set. And for the most part, I'm a pretty good comic. Even when I started, I wasn't a shitty comedian. I had studied stand-up for a long time before I even started doing it. So I kind of knew what was going on as far as writing stand-up a little bit, and I kind of knew that I had my jokes and they had worked at shows that I had done before on the side, and I felt confident that my jokes would work, So I go up and I start doing my set, and I hadn't really, really, truly bombed, like a real bomb. I had never felt that since I started doing stand-up. And so when I'm up here doing stand-up, I start my set, and first joke I say, I do the dancing, or I don't fuck, yeah, it was the me. So I do that fucking bit, right? And just fucking silence. Just complete, utter silence from everybody, dude. And I could just literally hear nothing. All I could hear was pretty much like the movement of the bartenders moving the cups around and shit. So I start sweating again and I just go back into my set. I do another joke. Doesn't fucking work. Do my other set. Do my entire fucking set. I got a few minimal laughs. Very like, oh, that was cute. Very like, oh. But for the most part, I feel, from what I remember, is I fucking bombed. And it was horrible. It was so brutal, man. I finish my setup. I wrap it up. Bart gives me the light. I finish. And I'm the host. So my job isn't fucking done. I just made an ass out of myself in front of, 30, 40 people. I gotta finish the fucking show till I gotta be the last one off the fucking stage now. So Then I go ahead and bring up the feature. He comes up, I introduce him, I get off the stage, and I just go to the bar and just order shots. I'm like, I need a fucking shot. I take a fucking shot and I'm just drinking a beer like, oh my god, I just totally made a complete ass out of myself at my home comedy club. It's fucking over. And Feature does this thing. I'm talking to the headliner on the side. I don't want to say his name, but he's kind of a big YouTube star too. He's actually a really big celebrity. And talking to him on the side, and he's telling me like, "Hey man, you know my intro?" I'm like, "No, no. What's your intro?" I didn't have a pen or a paper at the time, um, so I figured I would just memorize it. So he starts telling me, um, pretty much what he wants me to say. So I start telling him. So he starts telling me like, all right, well, tell him that I've done this and I've done that. Tell him that I have a YouTube channel and I'm known for this one character that he does on YouTube, right? And I'm like, okay, I got it, fuck it. Feature finishes. I go up, he hands me the mic. I say, hey, give it up for whoever the feature was. And yeah, everybody's fucking, he got down. And all right, you guys ready for your headliner tonight? And everybody's like, yeah. And then I'm like, oh, come on, guys. Like, I totally was like, I gotta do something right? So I really try to pump up the crowd. Like, I said, oh, come on, guys. Like, I totally, are y'all ready for your headliner tonight? And everybody's like, yeah, give it up for um give it up for give it up for the and just people just started like, oh, I could just start hearing people going, oh. And out of nowhere, like, the headliner just comes out from the side and it's like, you know what, man, don't worry about it, bro, just, it's okay, just give me the mic. And I was like, oh my god, I forgot the headliner's fucking name, man. Like, I was so devastated. I handed over the mic and I got off the stage, and I just don't remember a lot of it after that. It was such a painful experience, to start off doing stand up comedy at an actual comedy club, chasing your dream. Like, that's where it starts, and to fail that bad, I mean, it was really, really horrible, and it hurt me a lot. It really, really fucked me up. After the show, I ended up seeing Bart. I couldn't even look at him in his eyes. I came up and he's like, oh, okay. I don't even remember what he told me because I wasn't even fucking hearing anymore because I was like, it's over. I'm never gonna fucking work at this club again for another fucking year at least, you know. So I was just like, hey, thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I just remember saying sorry and I just fucking left as soon as I could. And, I didn't want anybody to see me there and I took off home. And after a couple of days, I started, wandering, and I decided that I wanted to do it again. And somehow from inside of me, something that horrible of experience didn't stop me from getting back up on stage. It No matter what, I just felt like this isn't the end. As beat and as much as I felt like I had failed, I felt deep inside of myself that I couldn't let that be the end for me. You know, that the beginning wasn't going to be the end for me. The beginning, was just the start. So I was able to see that in my head and believe it in my heart. So, a week and a half after that, I go back on stage, and I started working again. I started going back to the open mics, and I just didn't care. I just started going back up somehow. I slowly started to forget about it, and slowly it stopped affecting me, and then it just became a memory. And then it became a learning experience. And maybe like about 2 weeks after I did the show, I was, I had gone back and started doing stand up again on the side at the open mics. I figured that fuck it, I gotta start all over again. I gotta rework my shit. I gotta work and get better. Um, the funny part of it was is that about 2 weeks into it, after I had done that show, I received a call, and I was working at Sprint again, and I didn't even want to tell anybody at Sprint how I went because a few people knew, and they're like, "How did it go? How did it go?" I couldn't even. I was just like, "Yeah, it went great. Yeah, it went awesome. I fucking killed." That's every comedian when they suck. I fucking killed, bro. Don't worry, it's all good. But um, I'm at work and I get a phone call, and it was Bart, and I thought that I would never hear anything from him ever again, but it was Bart, and I answered, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on, Israel?" I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "Hey, are you looking for a job?" And I was there at work getting paid, pretty decent money, and I'm standing there looking around, and I'm kind of like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, "Well, you want to come work the door for me?" And I was like, uh, yeah, sure, fuck it, I'm down. He's like, "All right, well, you start tomorrow." And I was like, "Oh, okay, fuck it." So that day was the last day that I worked at Sprint. I quit. The following day, I started working at the comic strip at the door, sitting people down. And I know a lot of people know me by that. That I was the door guy. Would sit people down, and it was it was great that I got that opportunity, and that you know at least Bart saw something, and he really helped me out a lot by putting me, in that environment for so long and giving me that job, because that's where I started to learn. Being there, I started to watch how the comedy show works, how professionals do it. I got to just really embrace, and absorb stand-up comedy, like live comedy inside a comedy club. And I got to meet all these great comedians. I started to learn from them, when they were giving me advice from, anybody, from like Willie Barcena, Tom Rhodes, all these great comedians that I got to meet. And it was awesome, and I slowly started to adapt and understand the way it works. And a couple of months down the line, you know, I got to do a guest spot, and I got to do a guest spot, and I fucking did really, really good, you know. Actually, it was Willie Barcena who gave me my first guest spot, and he was a great comedian that I looked up to so much, and that first week he was there, he's like, "Hey, you're gonna get a guest spot," and I was shitting myself because of what had happened before. I hadn't been on that stage since then, so I was sweating, and plus, fucking Willie Barcena was fucking right there, so. But I went up and I did good, and then I got another guest spot, and then I did good, and then after that, did it again, and then after a while, before I knew it, I was a host, and I was hosting the comic strip for all these badass fucking comics, and it was such a wonderful experience for me, and I'll never forget it. It was such a great time in my life to be there, and learn from all these great comedians. So it was quite the adventure at that point. Started working, double weeks and stuff like that. So I was out there. I was kind of a regular out there for a while, and it was just so amazing, and I sometimes think about it, like, imagine if I would have just given up after that one show that I did, the first show that I did at the comic strip, and I would have just fucking given up. Like, if I would have walked away from it, like, I can't fathom that type of stuff, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be where I am now. I mean, yeah, you know, I'm not super famous or anything like that, but I am who I am, and I'm happy about where I am in my life. I feel great, that I'm out there still doing shows, and now slowly, things are moving for me, and doors are starting to open up here and there, and it's wonderful. So that beginning to me was one of the most important times in my life. So I felt really grateful for it, and I was glad that I was able to see it. But it is true, man. Beginnings are very, very messy, guys. They're very, very messy. But You know, don't be scared to take it. Take the leap, take the risk. Don't be afraid. Do what you gotta fucking do, guys. You know, this is the beginning. You know, it's not the end. So just go with it. Whatever chance, whatever risk you feel like doing, fucking take it, dude. Trust me, I promise it'll fucking work out in the end, dude. It'll work out in the end. So that's just a story that I wanted to share with you guys, I guess, from the topic of beginnings. So probably next episode we'll have another word, and we'll talk about that theme for a while. Let me know if you guys like it. What did you guys thought about my story or whatever? If you guys thought it was funny, or if you think that I should have stopped doing stand up, make sure you guys let me know in the comments. Just be like, no, dude, you really should have stopped that day. It should have been over, man. Fuck, you don't fucked up. But all right, guys. Well, I guess I'll let you guys go. Thank you very much for joining me today on One Bad Podcast with One Bad Comic in One Bad Studios.